Alright, album review, video diary, day 1, January 1st, 2020. We are going to be talking about Diamanda Galás's Plague Mass. So, this was an album that was recommended to me by the guy that runs Low Yo-Yo over at Athens. I was asking if they had any Lingua Ignota records, and he was like, there should be a shipment coming in about a week from now, but he recommended in the meantime I check out this artist instead because he noticed a lot of the distinguishers that were used for Lingua Ignota were very similar to Diamanda Galás, because like her singing is very theatrical, it's very abrasive in some senses. It has a very wide range, and it speaks a lot of satanic imagery. And however, this album predates this by about what, 28 years? And it's a live album that was recorded at a St. Paul's Cathedral in New York, something like that. And it's basically a live recording for like 2 days from the year prior. And you can tell like it's set very tightly in a cathedral because like there's a lot of reverb that really encapsulates all around you. It really sounds like Diamanda singing this in like a valley of a mountain that just happens to be having a rock slide that's heading right towards you. That's sort of the vibe I'm getting. And, like, I don't know, there's just, like, it also like, I've also read this was meant to be addressing the, the AIDS crisis that was going on in the, 80s, and the, terrible responses that were from the church and, the other groups of the time. And it's a very hard listen, mostly because it's a very long album, but also because it's very dark, obviously. And while I was listening to this, like, all I could imagine was, like, complete blackness just, like, encapsulating around me. Like, I was just stuck in a void where all I could hear were, like, my innermost thoughts just, like, screaming out. That's kind of what one of the other images that I get whenever I listen to this album. But also, it sounds very much like a sermon where the pastor is just, I don't know. It's a very hard to describe, but it's a very not really concentrated, but there's a lot of interesting elements, such as, the fact that it starts out a cappella, the beginning tracks, and as we get further and further in, we actually introduce a lot more elements of percussion, and then as we move even further in, there's harmonic elements and even more melodic elements as we go in. That's sort of like the thing about this being a difficult listen. The beginning is basically just mostly spoken word with the occasional shriek, like blood-curdling shriek here and there, and it's just very terrifying in a sense. But yeah, overall I'd say I definitely enjoyed this album. I mean, yeah. And yeah, if you've listened to this album, I'd love to know what you think of it, and any similar recommendations that you want me to possibly talk about for this video diary. Yeah, thank you for watching Pardon the Memes, and I'll see you tomorrow.